financial problems, elder law, criminal law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by THAV GROSS. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Today's topic is one of Jeff Linden's favorite topics, tax time and eliminating tax debt with the offer and compromise.
Ba-dum-bum.
Brian Small.
Good morning, Ken. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
So far, so good.
Jeffrey Linden.
Good morning, Ken.
Jeffrey Kirshner.
Good morning. Now I've got Taxman from the Beatles playing in my mind.
There we go. You want to sing it for us?
I do not. But
Yeah, and unfortunately-
you better declare the pennies on your eyes.
And
That's
due
all I
to-
can
Did
tell
it-
you.
We hit the guitar one day for
One
you.
time, yeah.
Due to copyright infringements, we certainly can't have that music playing. But if you imagine as the viewer that it's playing, you're good.
Wasn't there a Beatles song, The Taxman?
Yes,
Yes.
really. Is that
That's
what
what I
you
just
said?
said.
Oh, okay. Must be my hearing. Must be my hearing.
I think it's the dementia setting. But that was the last show.
Tax day. This year, Tuesday, April 18th. Okay, so extension due date, October 16th. Just so you know your dates.
Why the 18th? Why not the 15th?
Because of the, I can't remember the name of the holiday.
There is a
There's
holiday, a federal holiday that falls on the Monday. Otherwise, it would have been the 17th.
Then it pushes it to the 18th.
Gotcha.
And it typically, frequently it happens, and several of the years we've had it where it extends beyond the 15th.
Right.
The key reason why I'm raising this is what, Jeff, is because people make what I don't want to say fatal mistake, but I would say
The biggest
stupid mistake
Yeah, they don't file.
of not filing on time by the due date or by the extension date. And what's the consequences of that?
The consequences is a 5% penalty a month for the first 5 months you don't pay, which means
You don't
we've
file.
never had an experience where somebody hasn't filed in April and okay, they catch up in 5 months. If they're not going to file, they lose it. It's immediately 25% more tax than you owe.
So if your tax debt is $10,000 and you make the mistake of not filing on time,
Or not filing an extension.
you convert your tax debt to $12,500 plus
away.
interest that you have to pay. It's
Right.
throwing away that $2,500 plus the interest, that 25%.
Yeah, and now with the way the economy is, that interest is 6%. So it's 6% on the taxes you owed. It's 6% on all the penalties too.
So
And
it's
it's
a lot
likely
more
to
money.
head towards 7% very shortly.
Yeah.
And reason why a lot of people don't file their taxes is because they're afraid of having to pay, because they may not be able to pay or they don't know, yet they don't appreciate the fact that not paying, there's fines, there's penalties, there's interest. Eventually you may have to pay. If you don't file your taxes, what could happen to you, Jeff? If you
Well,
don't
not
file
only
your
do you get charged more, but it's actually a federal crime to not file a tax return that you are required to file. And if you don't pay, yes, there's a penalty, but it's a 0.5% per month. It takes 50 months before it caps out at 25%. It's a much less painful problem.
Yeah, if you can't, I'm glad you brought it up, Jeff. That's the psychology that causes people not to file on time. I owe money. I haven't done the records. I haven't taken care of it. If I don't file, they won't know to look for me, and their way I can stay under the radar. Eventually, though, they find you. It always happens, and all it is a much bigger problem. And the worst part of it is this: if you don't file for 2022 because you're worried about not paying you don't have the money to pay the taxes, chances are when 2023 comes along, you say, well, I didn't file for 2022, I better not file for 2023, and then all of a sudden we have a client that hasn't filed for 8 years. Common?
Very common.
Common. The fallacy is this idea that they're going to come and grab you and strangle you the moment when you file your return on time and you haven't paid. And part of the reason why people have this fear is part of the marketing that goes into the process of these companies that are trying to help people with their taxes. They always, the commercials are always very threatening and disturbing because the IRS is going to come after you unless you get help. So people become more sensitized to the fear. It's a terrible mistake. The government, you do need help.
Absolutely.
You don't want to deal with the IRS on your own. But, and correct me if I'm wrong, there are good programs if you haven't paid to get time to pay. We're going to talk about the offer and compromise, which is the way where you settle the tax debt for pennies on the dollar. The last thing you want to do is not file on time because you're worried about you don't have the money to pay. Because all you do is you commit a crime, you increase the tax liability, you quadruple your anxiety because you go to bed every night knowing you haven't filed your tax returns, and then all of a sudden you start dreaming about all these bad things that can happen to you. And you don't need to do any of that.
It also limits, we've talked all the time about our toolbox, our tax and other debt resolution toolbox. It throws out some of the tools we have to help you if you don't file.
Like bankruptcy.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, the key here, remember, no matter what, is file your tax returns on time, because the penalty is so much worse than the problem of owing. It really is.
And, and not only that, and you've discussed this before, Brian, the problem is if you don't file your taxes, eventually, if the government files taxes for you, what happens to the money that you owe?
When the government will file what's called a substitute for return. A substitute for return is a tax return.
Right.
It just happens to be, and we'll talk about bankruptcy and taxes, but it happens to make your income tax liability non-dischargeable. You can't wipe it out.
I just thought of something. SFR, substitute for return.
Yes.
I came up with different S and different F for the acronym. Can you guess what it is?
You cannot say that on TV.
Did you guess what it is?
You can't say it on TV.
Because as a result of that blank return, you can't file a bankruptcy.
Pretty much.
That return.
It also overstates the
Everybody
tax
got
liability.
everybody
got
the
it.
same
Yeah,
SF?
we got
Okay.
it. The SFRs also overstate your tax liability, because what people forget by trying to hide is that if you get W-2s or 1099s...
Hold that thought. Let's take a break and come back and give it to us.
It's a new year, full of hope. With hope comes the reminder that you need to protect your future and the future of your loved ones. THAV GROSS is holding a free estate planning seminar April 19th in our offices in Bingham Farms. We will discuss the importance of having a will, a trust, and powers of attorney. And yes, it's absolutely free. You need to protect yourself and avoid the probate of your assets when you pass away. To sign up, call us today at 888-235-HELP or sign up at thavgross.com.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Pat was recommended by a friend who insisted that we really needed a trust. And he said, I know somebody who will do a good job for you.
At Samasco Law, we deal with estate planning and trusts every day.
We had excellent service from Samasco Law. Any questions we had were addressed. Our estate is in order, and it had been set up so well that nothing needed to be done. I would just highly recommend Samasco Law.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress.
Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirschner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP. Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
The government knows.
Did you hold that throat?
I did. So what people forget is if you get 1099s or W-2s at the end of the year, those are sent to the government. So the government knows what you've made, and if it's a W-2, they know what, if anything, has been withheld. But it understates if you have to itemize or get other tax deduction benefits. The government doesn't know that, but they know what you earn.
So they just give you the bad, not the good.
Yeah, they give you an overstated tax bill. And
so you can correct that by filing the correct return?
If you know about it and do it within 3 years.
But if you file a corrected tax return after the government's filed an SFR, you still can't discharge
it's still
it in
an
bankruptcy.
SFR.
It's still an
It's still an
SFR.
SFR.
Okay.
But you can at least correct it then, and
You
and
can lower
get
the
some deductions.
You can lower the debt.
Okay.
But you can't discharge the taxes
Can't
in bankruptcy.
discharge the taxes.
Well, when can you discharge these taxes in
So,
bankruptcy?
income
Because the
tax.
tax firms don't talk about discharging
No, why would
taxes
they?
in
They-
bankruptcy.
why
That's
would
not what
you-
they do.
It's
Right.
not, yeah, exactly. That's not what they do. If a tax came due at least 3 years ago, and the tax return has been filed for at least 2 years, and you haven't been assessed in the last 180 days, 240 days, excuse me, then you can discharge the 8 months, you can discharge the taxes,
Income taxes.
income taxes
Income
in the
taxes.
bankruptcy. If you have an SFR, you can treat the taxes in a bankruptcy like a Chapter 13, but at the end of the Chapter 13, the
You
tax
still owe the
debt
money.
will still survive instead of being discharged.
You always say this, and I don't know if you've described it, the last part. If you haven't been assessed in the last 240 days, what does it mean
That's
to
a
be
bill.
assessed?
You
That's
got
a bill. You got a bill. If they audit you and increase your tax, that's a new assessment, something like that.
So,
So-
if it's just any communication?
So
Is that
basically,
what it is?
it's really basically
No.
this.
Oh.
If you file your returns on time, it's 3 years. So your 2022 return is due in April or October of 2023.
That becomes
3 years from
dischargeable
that
April
Or
or
October
October of 2026.
Okay, so it's easy to discharge those income tax returns
The-
if you haven't had an SFR.
The better way to look at it is 2019 became
Due
due in April or
20.
October of 20, and now it's becoming dischargeable
April
in
or
April of this
October
year.
of this year.
But you really have to watch out because we had COVID and the financial crisis issues and other natural disasters. Those that 3 years gets extended because there's all sorts of manipulation of the due dates. So
Right.
it's not just a hard 3 years from April of.
You got to research it.
Yep.
You got to know when the due date was.
Okay. All right, so we can get rid of taxes,
income taxes.
income taxes, if you don't get stuck with the SFR, which can occur by not filing your tax returns on your own
Correct.
through bankruptcy.
Right, and
then-
also you just to clarify, you also can't have filed a fraudulent tax return. You can't be a tax evader. There's all sorts.
But if you're a normal person, I'm
a
talking
normal
about.
person filing their taxes, if you just file them on time,
I mean,
we can make it go away.
When I say normal person, just so you said tax evader, and those people come to us at times. We haven't seen it as much as we did, I would say, about 10 years ago. The quote-unquote tax protester who believes that he has a constitutional right to not pay taxes because
You're not
it's
getting
not
any
provided
help.
for.
Will you tell me how many times that argument has won? I can't remember.
Zero.
Oh, yes, that's right.
But I tell you what, we're nice to that person, but we sit there and we say to him, you are delusional on this particular issue, and we can't help you. Because you can't convince somebody who's irrational, and that's an irrational theory to take. There's no success in it. It leads to jail, is what it ultimately does, and we don't get involved in that because the tax protester can't win. You can make this system work for you. The system has plenty of tools that we use to resolve tax problems miraculously. That's what our clients always say. It's a miracle that things came out so good, but you do it within the system. You don't try and create a new constitutional argument that you can hold your head on, wave a flag, and invade a capital in order to make it work without getting political. All right, so now, offer and compromise. What's the other way? That we hear that secret offer and compromise program.
Right.
How does that work?
So the offer and compromise program.
Because it is a good program,
It's
right?
a great program, and it can settle your debt for pennies on the dollar if you qualify. It's an analysis of your monthly income versus your monthly allowable expenses and the equity in your assets. And through that, you work on how much time the government has to collect from you. And they'll compromise and take less than the total tax bill if it works through the program in the right circumstances.
Tell me if I got it right. It doesn't matter how much you owe.
Not at all.
In terms of what you pay. It's all a formula of
It's what you have.
what you have and what you earn.
Right.
Okay, so if I owe $10,000 or I owe $100,000 in taxes, the computation as to how much I have to pay
Will be the same.
is the same. But if in the computation of how much I have to pay it's $10,001, then the offer and compromise doesn't do me any good because I only owe $10,000 in taxes.
Right.
But if the computation is I only have to pay $500, then I'd only have to pay $500 on a $10,000 bill or a $100,000 bill.
Correct.
Okay. So it's a great program, but it doesn't work for everybody because sometimes you have too much. Like, what if I have $200,000 of equity in a home and I owe $100,000 in taxes?
Then you're not going to qualify for an offer. And
No.
if I know that in the first 15 seconds of the conversation, I can steer you to a better program, and I'm not going to bill you an offer and compromise fee, which takes a lot of effort to do them. So they're expensive. But we know that right away. You don't get that from other companies.
No.
Yeah.
I want to correct you. They are not expensive. They are money saving. You save significant dollars by going through an offer and compromise. The time and effort that it takes to get through the program and do it right ends up with you walking away from significant dollars owed to the IRS.
You're right. That's absolutely true. It's expensive. What I meant was if you're spending that time and money with no chance of success, it's a waste.
Yeah, I want to stay on that. We're coming up to a break, so we'll catch it after the break because there's a lot of false advertising that goes with the offer and compromise. We'll take a break. We'll explain to you what I mean.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We were just spinning. We just didn't know what was going to happen next.
At Samasco Law, we deal with these issues every day, especially elder law. Pat went to work for Fran.
Patrick was there holding my hand, kept saying, we'll get through this, we'll get through this.
He got her husband Medicaid and in a nursing home. Samasco Law got the success they deserved.
Samasco Law is definitely family to me. I really appreciate knowing all of you.
Time for announcements. We've got free seminars coming up. On Wednesday, April 19th, 6 to 7:30 p.m., we all need an estate plan. Key elements of a plan, what you need to know and address, how to avoid probate, how to protect your family. Attendees receive a gold certificate for $300 off the cost of any plan. Call 888-235-HELP, 888-235-HELP, or register online at lawandreality.com. Remember, you can always come in for a free consultation. We still do them via tele or Zoom conference if you like, but by all means, we're doing them in office. This is the post-COVID world. Just call 888-235-HELP or go online and sign up. Debt issues, tax issues, estate planning issues, business law issues, elder law issues with Pat, disability issues with Jeff. Again, just sign up lawandreality.com or call 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Also, go to our website to get the free reports, Resolving Tax Problems, The Real Solutions by Jeff Linden and myself, Bankruptcy, Is It Right for Me by Brian, How to Save Your Home from Foreclosure, Business Formations, Loans and Grants for Small Businesses in Detroit and Michigan, and Pat's Retiree's Guide to Social Security. I want to thank our sponsors, THAV GROSS, Samasco Law, Kirshner Law. Now back to the show.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirshner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
It's a new year, full of hope. With hope comes the reminder that you need to protect your future and the future of your loved ones. THAV GROSS is holding a free estate planning seminar April 19th in our offices in Bingham Farms. We will discuss the importance of having a will, a trust, and powers of attorney. And yes, it's absolutely free. You need to protect yourself and avoid the probate of your assets when you pass away. To sign up, call us today at 888-235-HELP or sign up at thavgross.com.
All right, so we're back. So here's the problem with the offer and compromise. You hear on the TV and the radio, we'll settle your tax pennies on the dollar. You call the 800 number, and the person you're talking to is a salesperson who's on commission. And their job is to get your credit card number and a $7,500 to $10,000 initial payment. And they're going to tell you you're going to qualify for an offer and compromise no matter what you tell them. Because they're going to put you into the program, and then 9 months later it will get denied because you have $300,000 of equity in your home. And then they'll say to you, at this point you've paid them $15,000, and they'll say to you, I'm sorry, the lousy government denied your offer. We can put you into a payment plan now for another $2,500.
Oh no, my favorite is, we can appeal it. And all we need is another $10,000 to appeal. We'll get a better revenue officer to work with.
And that's fraud when they do that to you. Because just like what Jeff said, in 15 seconds of a conversation, we'll know if you have too many assets and too much income to qualify for an offer. And if that's the case, if you don't fit there, then we find another solution. It might be bankruptcy to discharge the taxes sometimes, but that won't work if you get too many assets and money.
But the
But you get payment plans.
But quite often, when you have significant debt, tax debt, you can be making considerable living and still discharge your income tax debt in bankruptcy as long as your non-consumer debt exceeds your consumer debt. It's a
And-
little trick in the bankruptcy world.
And tax debt is non-consumer debt. You wouldn't think that, but
Yeah,
it
nobody
is.
would think that, but
Okay,
it is.
very fast case study. Art and Letty, they owe taxes for 2011 through 2016 of $100,000. Art's now disabled, injured, cannot work. Total income was $100,000 a year. Now it's just the $25,000 a year that Letty is making. They have limited equity in their home, $40,000 in their IRA. They got credit card debt. They got tax debt. What do you do about the taxes?
In this case, they would qualify for all of the programs, including an offer, and it would save them money, but that's not their best resolution.
No, indeed
Their
it's-
best resolution in this case, because all of their taxes meet the dischargeability and bankruptcy thresholds, assuming there are no SFRs in their background, this entire set of debt would be better taken care of through a bankruptcy.
And then what about their credit card debt?
we get rid of their credit card debt through bankruptcy. But here's the thing: they call a tax attorney that only does
He's gonna
tax
put them
work.
in offer compromise.
He's going to put them in that offer and compromise.
And leave them with their tax debt,
Right,
or
so-
they then have to still go to a bankruptcy attorney for the bankruptcy.
And
What about their disability?
Art will call me, and we will get started. I will file the application for him. He's in luck because if we were doing the show 5, 6, 8 years ago, I would tell him from start to end, it could take 24, 30 months. Now, even if you have to file levels of appeals, it's taking maybe 12 to 14 months, even if you have to eventually have a hearing on your case.
All right, so here's the point here on Art and Letty. Very simple facts, but the point that Brian made was really important, is if you call the wrong firm, the tax firm only puts you into the tax problem.
Right.
Because they don't know about bankruptcy. You need the comprehensive analysis. Bankruptcy is a faster solution, cheaper, less costly, and more final than an offer and
But
compromise.
if you change the facts just slightly, and you said Art and Letty owe taxes through 2022, and the majority of them are from 2020 to 2022,
Then maybe offer and compromise.
Then combining the tools of financial crisis management, where we do an offer and compromise to get rid of their tax debt, and we do a bankruptcy
to get rid of the
to
credit
get rid of
card.
the credit cards and the dischargeable taxes, it's a big picture that we have to
Absolutely.
look at.
All right, my favorite part when we do a tax show. Quick questions, I want answers. If you haven't filed for several years, what should you do?
Call me.
If you have a notice of a tax levy, what should you do?
I think you should call me.
If you have received a notice that I'm being audited, what should you do?
No, wait, let me think about it.
Call Jeff. If you receive a summons to appear, call Jeff Linden. If you have a major payroll tax issue, call Jeff Linden. Here's the point. If you have problems, deal with them.
Absolutely.
There are good solutions. Burying your head in the sand is never a solution to any problem in life, particularly when it comes to the tax man. Have a great week. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality.